So what does all this mean? Here's where it gets exciting and fun, because if you've listened to the videos up to this point, you've heard a lot of facts and figures, and you've heard some general demographic and psychographic information. But now it's important to take sort of the skeleton that you've been given and begin to add flesh and life to it according to your own unique calling. And again, this has to do with the 4 C's that we talk about in another video that you can take a look at called that have code, context, calling, and create, and we kind of unpack that and what it means for your particular church. But a good example of this is a church in Raleigh, North Carolina, that happened to be located next to the university there in Chapel Hill. And as they were thinking about a future building program, they really felt God was calling them to reach their 11% at the university there. And so they ended up designing and building a laundry facility in their new building, and they invite the students to come over from the university and do their laundry for free. And it's a great way of connecting and serving their particular 11%. And so that's kind of an out-of-the-box example of how a particular church chose to serve their 11%. So here are 3 or 4 things for you to think about and as you begin to look at ways to serve and connect with your 11%. And these might be good things even to talk about and consider as a church leadership team. But first of all, what do you see in your area, the Mahoning Valley? Again, we've talked about some general attributes of this particular area, but what are the local hot buttons that you see? Or what are things that are happening in politics? Or what are some of the positive things that are going on? Or some of the annual events or traditions that people really seem to be interested in? So what do you see that are kind of bubbling to the surface in your particular area of the Mahoning Valley? And then secondly, we learned that the highest age demographic is the empty nesters in this particular area. So what could you do to reach out to them and to serve them? Are there resources from halftime.org, which is Bob Buford's organization, where it talks about empty nesters going from success to significance? And are there ways that you could plug into that particular felt need for this group, who happens to represent the highest group of people in the study area? And then thirdly, we learned that the second highest age group is what's called suburban midlife families. Their faith involvement is somewhat lower than the national average, but their belief in God is higher than the national average. So is there a way that you can tap into that? This is a very busy group. They're interested in parenting skills. Could you serve them by offering some kind of DVD series on parenting skills, and maybe just as a free handout at one of the events in the local area, or maybe provide child care for couples night out, or maybe even activities for the entire family that they could all be involved in. So, and then last of all, we learned that the top concern under hopes and dreams is achieving long-term financial security. So again, is there a way that you could serve these folks by providing maybe a Dave Ramsey series or some resources from that organization, and maybe even do it at a local theater, maybe Tinseltown or Cinema South or one of the local theaters, where it's a little bit more of a neutral area, but it's information that specifically relates and speaks to this particular felt need of achieving long-term financial security. So again, let me remind you that in this particular study area, Route 224, Route 7, plus a 2-mile radius around that, there are over 1,400 people, or 675 households, that represent the 11%. And again, this is the group that is most highly receptive to the gospel and hearing about what it means to be a follower of Christ. So I would encourage you to not think in terms of how can we grow our church necessarily, but I would encourage you to think about how we can serve the 11% that God has called us to reach. And if you'd like more information on this, the 4 C's, code, context, calling, and create, or even unpacking this a little bit further, I'd be glad to talk to you. My name is Jim Kokenauer. I'm part of 11% Consulting, and you can reach me at the email there that's listed on the website, or I'm at 330-565-3383. I'd be glad to talk to you about any resources or any help we can provide as you look to reaching the 11% that God has called you to reach.